Hello and welcome to episode 1024, my birthday episode of The Sleeper and the Bust. It is Tuesday, March 8th. I'm your host, Paul Sporer, joined this morning by Justin Mason. Justin, good morning, sir.
Happy birthday.
No, I meant my birthday in terms of October 24th. Yeah, it's not my actual birthday. But
I was like, man, this year has really moved fast. I feel like I just flew out to Austin and celebrated.
Yeah, exactly. When's your birthday?
November 16th.
November 16th. So we'll have your birthday episode, relatively soon.
Yeah.
11/16, a little bit ways off.
At some point this season.
Yeah, but it'll be there. If we get a season.
No, stop that. Just stop.
I know.
That.
I was just going to say, we don't want to embarrass ourselves. People said that they listened to the episode, the day before that we had gotten the hype from Nightingale and them, and we were showing a little bit of confidence. They listened to it after the games had already been canceled and everything was totally screwed. And they're like, oh, that hope and optimism was adorable from those idiots.
I mean, it was totally like Lucy pulling the football. I mean, we
100%
completely fell for Bob Nightingale, and knowing that he is just owner, bootlicker, totally should have seen it coming. Just did.
I mean, it was I was streaming on Twitch when the news was coming out and people were getting hyped about Nightingale, and I just constantly pushed back saying, guys, it's Nightingale, it's got to be the opposite. But then even I started to fall for it. I was like, well, this is pretty, positive stuff. So stupid. Anyway, yeah, today could be a big day, could be a good day. I don't know. I'm also not trying to get hyped on it. So we'll just keep the even keel. If it happens, it happens. Otherwise, whatever. But we got a little news to talk about. We got my NL LABR salary cap.
Mm-hmm.
I want your thoughts on my squad over there. And then we're going to finish up shortstop. Didn't want to start third base and kind of have, two positions overlapping there. So we'll be finishing shortstop, talking about the kids, the boring draftables, and then some of the back end chaff for you deep league folks. But let's start with a little bit of news. It's kind of a bummer, man. I was excited to see where this guy would land, but I cannot under any circumstance blame Kwang Young Kim for going back to the KBO. Got a 4-year, $12 million deal to head back over there. And with the uncertainty going on here, who could blame him at all? I'm not going to be surprised if Saya Suzuki does the same thing. But had you been looking at Kim in any of your draft champions that are now going by the wayside there?
Yeah, I've drafted him twice. I drafted him in the Arizona Fall League once. That's not a big deal because it's free league, standalone. But yeah, in my and then in the triple play was the other one. I drafted him, and
that's what you get for sniping me.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Because I feel like he probably would have gotten more money. Probably a couple million more a year for maybe not as many years.
Sure,
maybe he would only
35.
Yeah,
a bit older.
And he's kind of had up and down years. It's like someone pointed out on Twitter, he's had some of the worst luck because of 2020.
Really has, dude. He's he probably thinks America sucks.
Yeah,
I went over there and it was cursed.
He wouldn't be completely wrong considering how baseball has treated him. So
yeah,
it's a huge bummer because
he's only 33. He's only 33. He could come back. I wouldn't be surprised. Well, not after a 4-year deal. Not after a 4-year deal. If it was a 2-year deal, I could see him maybe coming back. No, after a 4-year deal, you're right. He's probably
they could always try to post him and stuff like that.
True, but no, I think he finishes over there now. Yeah. You're definitely right.
My guess is he's going to finish over there. I mean, unless maybe he's got some sort of caveat in his contract where, if he gets an offer, he can walk away from it or something like that. I hope so because he was a fun pitcher to watch, and I think he was. I think he still had more upside to show us. So, definitely. Just I deleted him off my ranks last night. I updated. I think my outfielder ranks and my starting pitcher ranks on the Patreon, and those will be going up on Fangraphs. I think Thursday and Friday. So
excellent.
Just a huge bummer.
I liked him. I thought he was a good pitcher, and behind that defense, that Gold Glove winning defense, I definitely thought that we could have seen a nice season out of him with the Cardinals, but that's Kwang Young Kim going back to KBO. Wish him the best of luck and totally understand the reason. A little bit of rumor news here that, it's probably just one of those passing things, but it is a little interesting. Apparently, the Rays made a big offer to Freddie Freeman. Actually, I don't know how big it was. I have no idea. It could have been like a 1-year mega, or I don't know. It's just that they made an offer to Freddie Freeman prior to the lockout. We don't have a whole lot of detail that go on it, so we're not going to spend a ton of time here. But when you saw that, what did you think? Did you think what would be more of like a 2-3 year but huge AAV, or did you think they really ponied up for like a 5-6 year deal?
Did you see what Christopher Crawford had tweeted about it?
I did not. I only saw it on NBC Sports Edge on the like news panel.
I'm trying to find the tweet. I apologize for it.
No problem. I'm just gonna read here though. It's talking about how Blue Jays Dodgers also a fit. Of course, going back home to the Braves is also. I know Dodgers will be going back to where he grew up, but I mean back home to Braves is certainly a possibility. And it does seem like I don't know. I don't want to say that I feel like he's gone just because they didn't get Freeman a deal before the lockout, but you would have thought that World Series winning team would kind of lock up their superstar ASAP. But I wonder, if they're like, hey, yes, he's amazing, but, is a 32-year-old first baseman the best investment? I don't know. I think he is. I think he's going to age brilliantly. So I'm just asking, like, as the Braves, not saying I agree with it.
Yeah. For those not watching, I've shared the tweet from Christopher Crawford. He said that it was $144 million over 3,000 centuries.
3,000 centuries. That's
the really follow-up tweet, though, in which he says the year is 28,883. President Justin Bieber, MCMLVIII.
That's the Roman numeral there that describes what Justin Bieber that is.
Declares war on New Equatorial Guinea. The Seattle Supersonics are handball champions again. Handball is the most popular sport. The Rays issue one of their final payments to Freddie Freeman's ghost.
That's really funny. That's really, really good. Yeah, well done.
If you're not following Christopher Crawford on Twitter, you're missing out. He's a really good prospect guy, but also a very good Twitter follow as well. So I thought that was pretty hilarious.
That's really, really funny. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So I don't know. I tell you, we're probably only really talking about it because
we got nothing else to talk about.
We got nothing else to talk about. Normally, it'd probably just be a passing thing, but I don't really think that they can compete. I mean, they could. Let's be honest. They have the money. Yeah. Every team has the money, but would they step up and really give a big offer to like beat the Jays or the Dodgers or even the Braves? I don't know. More important news, Dodger related, possibly. I don't know. We'll get your take on it. A little bit of positive Max Muncy news, progressing well. Now, some people have taken this both ways, right? They're saying like, is he only progressing well because we're delayed in the season and he needs this extra time, and that's so it's not that positive of news unless more games are canceled, or hey, there was also part of the quote that said TJ was never on the table. And the only thing that's really an issue is that he hasn't been able to work with the Dodgers training staff to help get him really back to where he needs to be. When you saw it floating around yesterday and everyone was talking about it, what did you think about the Max Muncy news? Did you move him back up your rankings? Did you keep him status quo? Did you move him lower? Where are you at on Muncy? I know right now you're very low and kind of off your board type of deal.
Yeah, he didn't move any. I mean, he's still like 34th or something like that in my first base ranks. This
zero credibility, dude. I will never read another one of your articles.
You and Terrence, who commented on my shortstop article. This doesn't change anything. We talked about it on Sunday a little bit with Jason and Torres takes, Christopher Torres. And it just, if he wasn't going to be swinging like game ready by now, this is, what would have been pretty much halfway through spring training, and he's not ready to play in games. He's just starting to swing a bat. That's not a really good sign. Nick Savali, if you're not following him on Twitter, you should follow him. He talked a little bit about this. He thinks he's going to be fine defensively. It's the left-handed swing put in torque, and he feels like the Dodgers are kind of preparing. Well, Dodgers and Muncy are kind of preparing to like kind of wait and see, and then make a decision in June. Do you really want to find out in June that you're not going to have your starting first baseman or starting second baseman? Like, I don't know. Chris Torres, who, like I said, was on Sunday, made a really, really interesting point. He said the way he looked at it was like, is the upside of this guy a league winner for me? And if he's not, then why am I taking the risk?
I think he is, though.
Is he?
I think that is the upside. Sure.
250
Look at how great he's
35
been.
home runs.
That's pretty big. I mean, no single player is a league winner outside of like the very first.
Yeah, but I mean, like
first round guys. So
I love Max Muncy.
He's a game changer.
I don't think he's a game changer. I really don't. I mean,
you ain't getting 35 homers
from Patrick
cheaply. You're not getting like at what cost, dude? At a 200 average.
I think it makes sense if you're playing in a league where he's going after pick like 220, 230, and your league is shallow. So there is replacement value on the waiver wire, and you want to just take the shot. I think the hard part is if you're playing in NFBC, you're playing in a deeper format, or you're playing in a league with limited IL spots.
No IL spots.
Or no IL spots.
NFBC, it's 7 reserves, and that's it.
But
if you're not in NFBC,
yeah,
sorry,
let's play. If you're playing an ESPN league with 3 IL spots and 3 bench spots, it's hard to roster a guy like that.
No, I understand, because you're inviting that. You're already inviting the trouble, right? And that's something that Scott Pianowski talks about, where he doesn't even want to bring it onto the squad. And I totally agree with that. And obviously, this is something that you've had a pivot on. You were open, and I'm not trying to make the joke about the main event, but
no, it's right.
It turned you. That season turned you, and you said, no, this. I realize that this is too much risk to take on.
And it's not about rostering one individually like injured player. It's the idea that, hey, I'll just survive until this guy is back. Your team, like, what happened wasn't like that I made bad decisions in who I was stashing in 2019. What happened was 12 other of my guys got injured. And now on top of the 6 I already had, I had 12 more.
And that's exactly it.
And I could, even if I had 7 IL spots, I couldn't have kept them all. Like, it just, I would have had, it was just compounded worse because it was NFBC and there are no IL spots. So,
and that's what Scott drills on is that don't invite injuries, because you're going to get them anyway.
Exactly.
You're guaranteed to get some, because that's the nature of the sport.
Hall of Famer Scott Pianowski. Congratulations, Scott. Yeah.
Congrats to him. FSWA. Well-deserved. Love his podcast as well. Hopefully that's coming back for the season. To the point about game team winner type thing. He was the 47th best hitter last year on the auction calculator. At pick 171, that's pretty league winning. I think. What relative to other first basemen going in that range. That's like the needle in the haystack. But Kirilloff, Rizzo, Trey Mancini are going after right around him. Ty France, Tyler Stevenson, Joey Votto right before him.
But there's a lot. I wouldn't say all those guys. Like, just in a regular season, like, you're a huge Ty France guy, right? Like, would you be surprised if Ty France in a regular season just outproduced Max Muncy?
No, because I love his batting average, and I think there's power upside. But Max Muncy has a proven level that is much more bankable than Ty France.
I just think first base especially is so deep. Like, you can get a guy.
Second, then you're not getting 35 homers at second base
I
late
think
in the draft.
That's fair.
That's my only point. So again, league winning. I think Torres is on fair to say what's the level, and it depends what threshold is league winning. At 171, I'm not taking him, so I'm not sitting here telling you guys that you got to take him. I do think that,
where would you take him?
Anything that starts with a 2, I can start to consider. So another 2 rounds later, I can at least start to consider it.
You were going to transition into NL LABR. Did you bid on him in NL LABR?
I did not.
Okay.
I just let it go. And that could have been somewhere because there's unlimited IL that maybe I could have gotten in. Let's talk about it. Some NL LABR. He went for 19, though. I didn't even think that there was that much of a discount.
Yeah. That isn't a discount, really.
That's why
It's a little bit of a discount, but I mean, LABR's an average league, not like tout, which is on base percentage. So, but still, $19 on a guy that in a league where injuries will crush you. Like,
Exactly.
I mean, we're talking
NL
about
only 12 team.
a 12-team NL only league. Yeah, injuries determine who wins.
For real. No, I totally agree. And the thing is, I actually looked it up after I looked up Muncy after that bid to see if something had come out to where he was more certain. It was Sunday night and there wasn't. And I don't say that to like shade on Eric Carabell who got him because I forget the exact dynamics of it too. And if he had extra money and said, you know what, I'm just going to go in for this because he can also get some of the fab back. Like if it's a season long injury, he can get, I think, half the money. So I don't know if we're rounding up and they'll give him $10 or whatever, but maybe he was thinking some of that. I just thought it was no real discount there for Muncy. So, but yeah, I know a lot of people aren't drafting him. You and I are in that boat where it has to be a lot cheap. Is there a price for you? What's your range that you would start to entertain Muncy? Is it like 250 or later? Is 300? AKA never.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be after 300 for me.
Okay.
You know, like I'm just trying to think of like what round in a 15-teamer I would be comfortable.
What about draft champions where you have more?
No, I'd be less likely to draft champions because I can't drop him. I'm stuck with him.
Okay.
You know, because I mean, things like what just happened with Kim are going to happen.
No, you're right. You don't want crossed off players. You don't go in the league.
I don't want
48 players. Everyone else is 50. That's fair.
I don't. Fair. Yeah, I mean, I want like maybe 2 or 3 max stashes.
I want mine to be prospects too. I'd rather they not be injured.
I want to feel pretty good. They're going to be up pretty early too. Like you know, and so like I don't want. You know, I might take an injury shot here or there, but yeah, no, it's a really difficult. So I'm thinking 25th round. So that would be post 375. I'm never getting him there.
Yeah, so you're never getting Muncy, and that's okay. I don't think it's bad to be out on somebody. And we made that passing joke earlier about a comment that you had with regards to your rankings because of where you ranked Seager and Correa. And you know, we mocked it a little bit, but I don't know if that person listens to the pod, but I feel like we've had this discussion a lot about drafting players. And do you draft them like where you want to take them and how you feel about them? Or do you draft them to try to be with the crowd and with ADP? And we have decided over the years, I think we both moved further and further toward, I'm going to rank them the way I draft them. I don't want people to follow, if they're going to follow my advice, if you are going to use my rankings, I don't want you to do something that I definitely wouldn't do, because then you're going to kind of put it on me, which is understandable. If you say, hey, this was your guy, I drafted him, I'll be like, yeah, we lost or we won on that. But I don't want somebody to draft Max Muncy if I just rank him 16th at the position because they're like, well, you had him up there, but you weren't drafting him until the 30th guy. And so I think it's more intellectually honest to do what you did. And you have Correa and Seager low, but that's how you feel about them.
I used to like be the type of person to be like, okay, well, here's my ranks, and then here's what I'm going to draft off of.
Yes.
And I'm not going to share what I'm going to draft off of. Here's my, and like it's not being honest with your listener or your reader. Like if you're a subscriber to Patreon, you can see like I'm updating my ranks constantly, you know, pretty close to daily at this point. Like when I go to the Barfleet draft on Saturday, I'm going to print out what I have on my ranks, and that's what I'm taking to the Barfleet draft. So I mean, you know, do I follow it to a T?
No, we never do, because everything
in round 15 or 17. Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm sharing my draft list. There are other people in the industry that rank based on, hey, this is where my projection system or whatever says end of the year value is going to be, which is fine, but know what you're using, like, and know what you're reading. And what I make a draft list. Like, this is how I would draft in a draft. I'm going to take this player, you know, 9 times out of 10 over this player. And yeah, some dude got mad at me in the comments. Which is fine. Like, you know,
and that's okay. Yeah. You know, I thought it was too far, but he didn't call you names or anything. He didn't swear. And that's all right. Like, it's all right to express your opinion, and that's what the comments are for.
It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to be wrong, parents.
I just disagreed with his general point, which was that you did something wrong by ranking these guys. They're your rankings. They're inherently correct. in that they're just yours.
And
it's
because
just
I'm
your
amazing.
opinion and your choice. I wouldn't go that far.
It's inherently correct because they're mine.
For context, since we are talking shortstops, you put Seager 17, injury history, lack of speed, and bad lineup have me fading him is your comment, and Correa 20th. Injury history and lack of speed have me fading him. And we don't know if it's a bad lineup yet because we don't know where he's going to be. And you pointed out how Seager, even last year,
Seager was the 29th shortstop. So like I'm ranking him 12 spots above where he finished last year. And Correa, last year he was the 9th shortstop.
He was 9th.
I acknowledge that. But the previous 3 seasons to that, he wasn't even a top 25 shortstop. And
probably 4 seasons, because the shortened season, 19 only 75 games, 18 only 110 games, and 17 only 109 games.
And this is what happens when you don't play a lot and you don't steal bases. Like,
yeah,
if you're gonna miss, if we have to project that you're not going to get to 450 plate appearances in a full year, maybe 450 plate appearance is a full year this year. But if we can't project you're going to get to a full season and you don't steal bases, there's no way for you to recoup that value. Like, it's just, I mean, his 2019, he was really, really good for the time he played, but because he played less than 400 plate appearances, really, really good didn't mean shit.
Yeah, for Correa you're talking about, right?
Yeah, for Correa.
Yeah, he was 27th in 2019 among shortstops. And add in the depth of the position too, and the fact that neither of them steal. And I get it. And I'm a little bit higher than you on Seager for sure, but we're pretty lockstep on Correa. The depth of the position, and I love Correa. And you know how much I wanted him on my Tigers. I don't agree with his ADP at all. With the depth of this position, I feel like his ADP, and for Correa, he is the 15th shortstop off the board at pick 110, which just tells you how deep it is that 15 shortstops are going almost within the top 100.
22 shortstops are going in the top 150.
That's crazy.
22.
But I think that slotting for Correa is like projection, because he either has to fully repeat last year or get better. That's like the baseline.
How often do we complain about top 4-round players having to pay for their ceiling?
Yeah.
He has to repeat. We hear it all the time with guys. We heard it like with the Rosarena last year. He has to repeat to get this 4th round draft spot. We hear it. Last year it was also Vlad, right? Oh, he has to break out to be worth the 4th round draft pick that he's going. No, he did. We never complain about guys who are going outside the top 10 rounds or top 7 rounds. And like, we're paying for the upside. We're paying for last year. Like people are doing with Simeon this year, right? Oh, you has to repeat to 1, he doesn't. And 2,
I've come around on him big time, by the way.
And 2, it's like, I'd much rather pay a top 50 price on Simeon than pay a top 150 price on Correa.
I totally agree, because he's done it too. He has an established level. And by the way, in fairness, Correa does not need to directly repeat.
No, he doesn't.
To generate 15, because he was 9 last year. So I just want to be clear if anyone is hearing that saying like, no, he doesn't do 100% repeat, but he can't get hurt again. And that is something that he has done consistently. And even last year only played $148, and that's a good number these days, but it's not, it wasn't 157. So anyway, I thought your rankings were fine there. And again, they're your rankings, so they inherently can't be wrong. You can disagree with them, but they're not wrong because they're yours. But let's talk a little NL LABR before we get into the rest of the shortstop here. I mentioned that I was in it my first year. A lot of fun. I'm just going to run down the team real quick. Not worry about the reserves or anything, but the 2 catchers, Omar Narvaez, Manny Pena at 12 and 4 respectively. My corner infielders, Pete Alonso, 29, Mike Moustakas, 13, Luis Urias, 20. And then my middles, Jose Barrero, 8. It's a little bit of auction dynamics there that I could afford to pay up for him. Your boy Cole Tucker at 2. I knew you'd like that one. And my second baseman, Ozzy Albies, 32. And then my outfield is Harrison Bader, Hunter Renfroe at 20 apiece, Lane Thomas at 11. And then I took 2 free agent gambles, Jorge Soler at 9, Tommy Pham at 3. I'd love to spike at least one. If I lose both, then I can get, I think, $6 back, the half of their combined value there for Fab, which will be helpful because the top 12 free agents weren't available to bid. And so we're going to have a separate auction for them. So I could supplement some things with one of those guys if they come over to the NL. And then my utility is at $1 Zach McKinstry. Nobody's surprised by me getting McKinstry. Pitching wise, I went Musgrove at 19, Tyler McGill 11, Huascar Ynoa 8, Alex Cobb 6, Patrick Corbin 5, Zach Thompson 1 for my starters. Giovanni Gallegos, not a surprise there, at 15, Mark Melancon at 10, and Trevor May at 2. And so that's the team. I'm curious what you think. I'd love your honest opinion, even if you think it's garbage.
I do not think it's garbage. I think you took some unnecessary risks with the amount of free agents you got.
It's only 2.
No, because then you took Ian Kennedy in the reserves.
Oh, yeah.
Which I actually like.
Can I be honest with you real quick before you continue? So Soler and Pham were both bids that I got cricketed on, and I didn't think I'd get cricketed on Soler.
I think the Pham one is actually a really amazing deal. Like
$3 felt good, but I hear you. Like I only wanted one really. And when I got cricketed on Soler, I came down lower on Pham, and I thought he'd go 5 or 6. But so when they froze me at 3, I said, not great. But again, I have the backup of the extra fab period with the top 12 free agents. If any of them come over to the NL, I can.
And if they don't sign in the NL, you get half of their.
I get a little something back, a little taste.
It's 4% of your fab bag is not bad. Like if you
there's $100 and no zeros. And those 12 free agents are coming out of our actual fab. It's not a supplemental fab.
Yeah.
So, so there it is. Go ahead. Continue.
But other than that, I mean, I do really like this team. Albies at 32 seems like a really, really, good price.
I had 35, 36 as my target.
Yeah.
So I felt good when they stopped there.
Who are you going to replace Gorman with? Oh wait, no, Gorman's. I'm looking at the wrong.
Gorman's DVR. I don't know who he's going to replace him. Oh, he's going to replace him with Lux,
and then move one of their.
And then McNeil. Well, no, he doesn't have anybody on his. He's going to pick. He's probably. You know what? I think DVR is looking to get into the free agent.
Yeah, he's going to go after the free agents pretty hard, I guess. So, which I mean, everybody should, right?
It's a good strategy. Yeah. It's a new dynamic, right? And some people didn't like it. Mike Salfino's like, why'd you guys even do the auction? I was like, this is the time that we set it, and we're working with the restrictions that we got. I hear you. If you didn't like it, that wouldn't be something that's ideal. It's just a different set of dynamics.
I really like the Hunter Renfroe buy and the Lane Thomas buy. I actually really like your outfield. I mean, even with Soler and Pham, I think if as long as you get one of them, I think you're pretty good because you did take 2 outfielders in the reserve. So one being TJ Friedel, who's a guy that I've talked about here. He's like a deep NL only kind of guy.
I figured he'll go right in. And then I could also put Tucker into the outfield, and Brasso can take his spot. So I'm covered on both my guys. If they both are out day one, I still have a full lineup, even if
plus you can go after some of these free agents. So I mean, I like the squad a lot. I mean, I think my biggest gripe with it is Gallegos at $15.
Yeah.
I mean, we know he's probably not going to be.
How many saves do you think he gets?
15.
That's too low. I disagree. I think he gets low 20s.
I hope you're right for your case. But I mean, also got Melancon.
And that's why I did that, because he's a high volume guy. And I know that, like, I'm not pretending Gallegos is a 30-something. He got 14 last year and barely had the role. He is still going to be like the primary. He's not.
And to be honest, who I think the Cardinals will likely sign? Like
Kennedy,
Ian Kennedy.
That'd be great.
He's the one. Like, someone asked me on Twitter, like, hey, if you don't think Gallegos is gonna be the closer in St. Louis, who do you think leads the Cardinals in saves? And I said Ian Kennedy.
I got to be honest. Kennedy was you in the back of my head, like he. Saying like he could
someone's going to stop because someone's going to give him like $2 million a year to be a closer.
He's a capital C closer. Because he's done it. I'm not saying he's that good at it, but what I mean by that is that he's proven that he's had the role, and that has weight in the majors. He has a 30 and 26 save season. The 26 saves were last year with pretty good numbers. I agree. Someone's going to bring him in to close. It could be Miami too.
Yeah. Love the rotation. Miami clearly after the Jeter stuff is not going to be signing anybody. So Dylan
true.
Floro went from being like the closer, everybody's like, oh, he's going to lose his job. So maybe one of this, he actually, I haven't updated my relief pitcher ranks, but he should move up into the more established guy.
Dude, he's still mad cheap right now.
He is
People are not interested in him at all. And listen, I loved Bender. I banged the Bender drum a ton. It had a cosign from Craig Mish, who I totally believe and take his Miami stuff to the bank. And they went with Floro. And if you look at Floro, though, he pitched really well. I wrote his cap on the forecaster, and I came away really impressed with how he did in that second half. So he only went for 8 in this, which is not too bad.
To Howard Bender, who did not take his namesake.
Did not want Anthony. He did make a comment when Anthony went. He's like, "Oh, my brother."
That's like Larry Schechter not
taking Bregman. He should have to take
Bregman. Yeah.
Come on, that's his nephew. You got to get Bregman. So, I feel pretty good about where the team's at. It's obviously going to need in-season work like any team will, but especially in a league like this.
It's NL only, 12 team, there's nobody on the waiver wire. Which is why it's so interesting that they decided to do it this way in terms of the available free agents being available in a pool. I think that's a really cool idea. I really like it. I think deeper leagues like AL or NL only should copy it. Not just industry leagues, but
I agree, especially if you had a set date and you got family folks that can't really move it.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people don't want to. They want to just get together and draft, and so
they want to go to the local sports bar and get some food and hang out and do their thing, and By the way, Anthony Bender went for 18, pure auction dynamics that DVR had $18 left, if you're wondering why, because I saw it too, and I was like, wait a minute, and that was his last player and all his money. He just didn't want to leave anything.
Really like your rotation. You went Musgrove, Tyler Megill, Alex Cobb, Patrick Corbin, and Zach Thompson, and then you took Corbin Martin and Tyler Beatty in the for a person who did not spend a ton of their money on pitching. I actually really like what you put together. So
thanks. I felt pretty good about it. I thought Cobb at $6 felt really good. I thought he could push up to 10. I actually had 10 budgeted, and that's what that extra money did go to Barrero because he was my guy, and I really wanted to get him. Barrero and Pena got that extra money. I thought I could get Pena for 2, but people were pushing up the catchers, and I'm like, let me get my backup loser from Atlanta here because I think he's a good regression play because his batting average was way too low last year. But and Barrero, I believe that he's going to be the shortstop. I paid more for him than Farmer went for. I just don't believe Farmer. Now Barrero hasn't done anything at the majors yet, but he's the young guy. He's the prospect. I think he's better. So
and he's the better defender, which should mean something for the amount of ground ball pitchers they have in Cincinnati. So I would hope that he may not start with the team. Your only real issue is how much fabbing you may have to do at the beginning of the season.
Because if neither guy signs in the NL and Barrero's down, that's 3 guys right off rip. That it's like, okay, you got work to do. And that waiver pool will not be good.
Yeah, NL only. Do you have? You don't have to give it completely away, but do you have a strategy set up for let's say 6 guys are of the 12 that were set aside, we'll just do 50%. How much of your fab are you going to be willing to blow?
I'm open to making a high impact move.
Mm-hmm. I think you should be because the amount of time you get that player for, as opposed to waiting till the trade deadline, is huge. The question is, will somebody blow 90% of their fab on one player? And how many people will?
Freeman's probably the obvious one, right? And I wonder, if he does sign, is somebody ready to go and say $93 or something? There's no $0 bids. They would have $7 the rest of the year, but it's Freddie freaking Freeman too. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I totally get it. What if Correa comes up? I know we just got done talking about him and kind of being a little negative on him. And NL only though,
or Trevor Story,
Trevor Story
in Philadelphia, there's some. there's some spots where that could become really, really interesting.
Chris Bryant is obvious. Chris Bryant's very intriguing as well. Kyle Schwarber, Kershaw, Rodon, excuse me. So yeah,
and
it's
with the
the
NLDH, like we don't have any like it's no longer where would Schwarber play in the NL? Not that he hasn't played there his entire career, anyways, but
Casty and Schwarber have a much better chance to land back in the NL because of that.
I would say it's much more likely than it is AL because AL teams have their DHs full for the most part.
Exactly. No, I totally agree. Well, I appreciate that review. I will have a link to the board in there. People can take a look, give their comments.
Last question, because whenever I do a piece on an AL or NL only team, or back in the day, we used to have like a beat that we'd have to do rankings for, and mine was NL outfielders. Or sorry, it was AL outfielders.
AL outfielders.
Always get questions like, where's Cedric Mullins?
Where is Cedric Mullins?
Yeah. Like, where's Mike Trout? No one drafted Mike Trout in this league.
I love that. It always happens. Yeah. No matter how much you're like, this is my National League only, my NL only NL, my only NL players. And that, like, you could put that as the entire tweet. And they'd still be like, bro, nope. Nobody took Justin Verlander, dude. Nobody's backing on Justin Verlander.
I had to do a monthly rank of AL only outfielders.
And you would always get...
I get 10 comments. Where is this? Yeah, where is this NL only player? And one of the happiest days I've had in the industry was you not making us do that anymore.
No, because that was part of it though, was we'd always have to get in the comments and be like, you didn't read. So we moved off of those beats there. And I didn't get Cedric Mullins. I should have gotten him instead of Jorge Soler. He would have been a better fit. And nobody even picked him up. Maybe I'll get him in free.
And not even the reserves. Yeah.
You would think. And honestly, people are pretty down on Trout because he didn't go in this league either.
Apparently.
And I thought this was supposed to be a sharp room. Call me crazy, but I think we kind of botched it.
These are experts.
Yeah, right. It was a really tough room though. My numbers were super tight. Some of the best values were, one was a mistake. It was Patrick Wisdom. The software broke for a bunch of people. We couldn't bid him up anymore, so Carabel got him for $4. And I know Derek Carty was saying he could have gone $8 to $10 higher for that power. Wow. And then the only other one that like really jumped out to me as being like $4 or $5 lower than I had Cesar Hernandez a good bit higher than the 9 he went for. I thought that was a really nice pickup for Derek. Speaking of Derek Carty, that was a nice pickup for him. So there were some technical issues. A lot of us were running into my bid didn't register thing. And then if you waited to do it late to try for a little gamesmanship and then it didn't register, well, then that bid then you couldn't do it. So that part was tough, and that's the downside of the technology aspect, but it was affecting people kind of equally. So they decided to just let it ride.
Just something to remember if you're going to do an online auction, waiting till the last possible second to bid sometimes screw you.
And maybe make a decision out front and at the very beginning say, hey, y'all, there's might be technological issues. We're not rolling them back. Outside of, I mean, I guess you could have exceptions, but then it's like, what's an exception? But I don't know. Like I would have thought Patrick Wisdom was exception enough, even though I don't think he's a stud. $4 in the NL only was actually pretty nice. And several people were in the chat, myself included, saying I was going to go higher, but I couldn't get the bid to register. But it's not the end of the world. And, like I said, it did kind of affect people equally. Happy with the squad. Glenn Colton, gave a little seal of approval saying, hey, did pretty well there. Ariel was doing the labor for the first pitch. He was doing the review with Tristan. They had some kind words to say. So I appreciate the kind words there. I felt good. And I feel like this is a team that can certainly compete.
Did you live stream this at all or no?
No, I was in the labor one and I had Sirius and I was bouncing between those two, listening here and there to both, but I just wanted to zero in and I didn't do it on Twitch myself.
Tout's coming up in 2 weeks. I will be live streaming that. Bart's coming up this weekend. I will not be live streaming it, but I will get a public board because we're going to be live.
Yeah.
But I will get a public board. And maybe, I'm sure I will do some like videos or stuff.
Maybe some breaks, jump on the live stream for like 10 minutes and talk to people or something. Like that could be kind of cool, depending on what's going on. All right, let's finish up shortstops here. And if you didn't get the first ones, like the star level talent, that was last episode or 2 episodes ago for the pod, but our last episode together, 1022. So now we're in on like the 6th or 7th tier. These are the kids. And then it is the aforementioned Jose Barrero, Jeremy Pena from Houston, Bryson Stott. By the way, Barrero is from Cincinnati. Pena from Houston, Bryson Stott from Philadelphia, Taylor Walls out in Tampa Bay, Geraldo Perdomo in Arizona, Luis Renjifo for the Angels, Royce Lewis from Minnesota returning from injury, Jeter Downs for the Red Sox, and CJ Abrams from San Diego. First and foremost, who is your best bet to deliver mixed league fantasy value this year? Like substantial, meaning, if we only get 5 months, then like 4+ months type of deal.
I think it is the guys who have the clearest paths to playing time. And so right now, as things stand, I guess Stott, Pena, and Walls.
Mm-hmm.
However, I expect Philadelphia, who Stott plays for, to sign either Story or Correa.
Yeah,
I really think Correa is going to end up back in Houston. So
which would also then cut Pena.
Yeah, which would cut Pena. And so Taylor Walls, while he's not going to be a quote unquote starter in Tampa Bay, I think he becomes their super utility guy. I think he plays, 4 or 5 days a week, giving guys days off.
He has a wonderful glove.
Mm-hmm. And so I think they're going to utilize that pretty well. And so I think Walls is a guy that, especially in your draft champions leagues, your deeper formats, I think he'll pick up eligibilities other places, and just be, if someone goes down, if someone were to get hurt, Brandon Lau gets hurt, or Yandy Diaz gets hurt, one of those guys. I think he's a guy that probably
or the other guy.
Wander Franco.
Just because you say it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I know you don't want to put that out into the world. We don't ever root for injury. I don't
have Wander Franco anywhere, but I don't like baseball is going to be good with
exactly. That's so I'm with you. I know why you didn't want to, but obviously anywhere on the infield, Walls could then benefit if something.
I think the outfield too. Didn't Walls play a little bit in the outfield?
Let me see.
Could be wrong. So
not in the majors. He was 49 at short, 3 at second, 1 at third, and 1 at DH. But I wouldn't be surprised. Guys like this, when they're this athletically gifted defensively, they can play anywhere.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he could play in the outfield.
I really wouldn't either.
Now they also have Brujan, who they've been using also as well. So I'm not highly invested in anybody in this tier. I have a little bit of Geraldo Perdomo. I've been a fan of his, but I mean, Nick Ahmed is such a good glove.
Just so good defensively, that
I just don't know that they're going to give him a real shot. He did come up last year, so I mean, there is that. And maybe they say, Nick Ahmed, you play second base, or Perdomo plays second base, and they move Ketel Marte back into the outfield. So Jeter Downs, I think, is still interesting. I know people are down on him, but
let's talk a bit about him. He was part of the Mookie Betts trade, right? And so he's in Boston, and it's obviously not like shortstop's blocked off, but he could come up and maybe find some second base work perhaps. And he was at AAA last year, and it went terribly, right? 99 games, 405 plate appearances of a 606 OPS. But even in that, he went 14 homers, 18 steals. So the power speed was still there. It was like when he wasn't hitting a homer or getting on base and stealing, it was an out for sure. Mostly a strikeout because he had 131 punchies in 405 plate appearances, 32% K rate. What is your belief? What is your estimation that Downs can correct that issue and make it at least palatable, right? He's had swing and miss throughout his career, although actually not as much as I thought. He's only a 22% guy for a career. So this was a big spike in his swinging strikes there with the strikeout. Can Jeter Downs get to a, mid-20s strikeout level, let the power play with the speed and become a fantasy stud?
Yeah, I think so. I think he also got unlucky in balls in play. I mean, he's a guy who's run like 300 BABIPs throughout his career in the minors, and then last year he was 249 guys. So I'm sure some of that was deserved, and you'll have to talk to guys like Eric Lagenhagen and other James Anderson, Matt Thompson, guys who watch these guys on a fairly regular basis. because I don't so. I don't know exactly. I know a lot of people have said that they're really down. I think he went to the Arizona Fall League and produced fairly well. I want to say
he did. Well, no, he got on base, 389 clip, 491 slug, but the batting average was down again, 228. So I wonder if he was eaten up again by BABIP. I don't have the Arizona Fall League BABIP.
But he is a high walk guy. I mean, double-digit walk rate. Pretty much throughout the entire minor leagues. So
9.4 at AAA there, and I don't usually give the decimals there, but I'm pointing out just how close it was to 10% there.
There's clearly some pop and definitely a fair amount of speed in the profile for Jeter Downs. So I don't know. He may be one of those guys that comes up in September. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
But I think he's more of a watch list guy. Kind of, see how he's doing. Do the Red Sox give him a chance at some point? I think they're going to give him an opportunity if he can turn things around, because they, like I said, he's part of the Mookie Betts trade. They want to be seen as not having gotten nothing from that trade. I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, people are still making fun of the A's for trading
for the Josh Donaldson deal. Yes, exactly. And Jeter Downs could be that piece that would never alleviate any sort of critique for the Betts trade, but he would minimize it.
Mm-hmm.
It would never be fully gone. But if he became a stud, they'd be like, okay, well, we got an impact player here. Kike Hernandez is at second base right now, but as we all know, he can move anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So if Jeter Downs was killing it and Jarren Duran wasn't, Kike left field, Downs second base, easy peasy.
I feel like Duran is overlooked a little bit. I know we're not
I think so
talking
too.
Outfielders.
We will talk him in outfield, because I agree. I think there was hype last. It's that hype. Then they come up, do nothing, and now they're the worst player ever.
Yeah,
because he didn't do well.
That. Yeah,
in 112 plate appearances. So now Jarren Duran's persona non grata somehow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you. You guys well know Barrero's my favorite guy here in Cincinnati. I think he gets the job eventually. He might not start with it, but again, my biggest thing is Kyle Farmer's breakout was a 91 WRC plus. Like, that's the breakout. I'm just not that thrilled.
And
by
he's
that.
not good 31. Defensively.
He's not good. Like, I'm not seeing it. Kyle Farmer, you might be a great dude, man. I hate to just beat up on a guy's profile like that, but I'm just not seeing it. Barrero is the future, and hopefully the future is now, and they give him some love this year. Pena is interesting, but I'm kind of with you that Correa goes back to Houston, so that kind of puts a little clamps on that. What about Luis Renjifo in LA? He could be a super util. I don't think there's a spot for him day one. In fact, he's probably going to start in the minors because they got Fletcher and Wade, who are, kind of similar guys that can play defense, can run, make a lot of contact, but neither is like a full block off if Renjifo does some things. Renjifo has some upside. And I didn't necessarily realize it when he first came up for the Angels a few years ago, back in 19. But, he can steal a bit. He makes good contact. I feel like he has a little bit more power than like a David Fletcher, but strikes out a little bit more. Like, he strikes out more, but I'll trade that power for the strikeouts, because he hit 329 with 8 homers, 13 steals in 228 plate appearances at AAA last year. Renjifo did 14% K rate. Came up to the majors, it was a 20% K rate, but and then only a 220 BABIP, so he hit 201 with 6 homers and a steal. But I think he's got a little bit more punch than those guys. And I think his glove is pretty solid too. I think he's a solid average glove, not better than Fletcher or Wade, but like can handle it. So he could find playing time. Does Luis Renjifo interest you at all in like draft champions right now?
Not really. I just don't know where the playing time's going to come from. The Angels have been the team that I said we're going to get Story. So I feel like even if they don't get Story, they're going to address the position. Because I think they want Tyler Wade to be the super utility. You're
100% right about that.
So,
I agree.
Which, I'd love to see Tyler Wade get full-time playing time, because I think he could get to like 20 plus stolen bases if he did.
Oh, yeah. Did he get 17 last year in minimum playing time?
Exactly.
So, yeah, you're dead right on that, too.
But I think team construction-wise, like, even if it's someone like, they bring back Andrelton Simmons, or like they're going to bring
Iglesias.
Yeah, they're going to bring somebody in. I assume they would want to like say, hey, let's build a powerhouse offense and bring in Story or bring in Correa. But Who knows?
That'd be awesome if they brought in Story. I'd love that.
I think that would be perfect for them. So
I agree.
So I just think that Renjifo is going to struggle to find full-time playing time. I think he almost probably needs some sort of trade to find some regular playing time. But I think he could be a really interesting guy in the same kind of mold as Tyler Wade, which is like he's not going to be a full-time starter anywhere, but he's going to play 3 or 4 days a week as a backup. So I'm not drafting him anywhere. I'm done with my DCs for the year. So I definitely will not end up with Renjifo. But I can
those
understand.
Super deep guys are now off of your radar now that you're out of DC.
Yeah, like right now you're like I've got my shares list, and like there's certain guys where it's like, oh, you drafted Antonio Senzatella a lot. Well, I'm not gonna anymore. All they're gonna do is drop down my shares list because I'm not. I think my 15-team mixer is now my deepest league, so left to draft. So
you got your deep plays out of the way there with the DCs. Royce Lewis tore his ACL in February last year. Said there was an update in November that he's running about 60-70% and should be 100. Heading into spring. Obviously, any delays are helping him to at least push himself back toward 100%. Royce Lewis, big time prospect, number 1 pick overall back in 2017. Not all number 1 overalls are created equally. Has not hit AAA yet. In 2019, he had a high A, AA season that was not great, but he did cap it off with a big fall league. We saw him go there and win the MVP and really, at least for those few weeks or those 22 games, start to be the guy that people envisioned when he was the number 1. 353, 411, 565 with 3 homers and 5 steals. That's 95 plate appearances. The 566 before that in that season, he hit 236, 290, 371 with 12 homers and 22 steals and 10 COTS, I might add. So it hasn't fully blossomed yet, but even with the lost year, I guess he lost 20 and 21. So now he'll be 23, still young. Royce Lewis doing anything for you? Were you in on him before? Where do you stand on Royce Lewis, the prospect?
I mean, this is why there's an
for
old
Minnesota,
adage.
By the way. Sorry.
Yeah, there's an old adage that prospects are suspect till proven otherwise, and I think we've been spoiled a ton by some major prospects coming up and just being amazing out the gate. Juan Soto, Tatis, Cunha. These guys just come up and
Chris
turn
Bryant
into
before them.
Yeah, turning into MLB stars. But we forget that more prospects are going to fail than succeed. And even though the prospecting game is getting better and better, that it's still true. Not saying that Royce Lewis is going to fail. He still has power. As long as that knee's okay, he still has a ton of speed. He swings and misses too much. He's got a very, very aggressive approach. The Twins have not been able to figure out how to get him to become a little bit more patient. But when you watch him play, and we got to watch him play it down in Arizona Fall League in 2019, even though he had been struggling in that season, like you could see the tools just flashing in front of you. I mean, there's no reason, or there's a reason why these prospect guys have him ranked super highly. He's still like the number 2 Twins prospect, I believe, on Eric Logenhagen's list.
You almost said Eric Hosmer, and I'm not going to let that slide.
Sorry, Eric. That was bad.
62nd overall, number 2 on their list. So for a guy who hasn't played for 2 years, that is still a good endorsement. I agree.
So I have him ranked in my top 60 or 65 shortstops towards the bottom. I think that he is likely, because they were even in that Arizona Fall League, they were playing him in the
center. Outfield.
Yeah. And part of that was just the way the rules are at Arizona Fall League. You could only have so many players from each position, and so not every team can send, a player to a certain position. There's kind of like a draft that gets done. But there's been talk about him playing the outfield. And so I think there's a legitimate shot that he still has 3 options. So I think there's a legitimate shot that he doesn't even come up to the majors this year. That he stays down defensively, to make sure he's injury, wise ready, and to really work on his approach so he can unlock some of that power. Because, I mean, he's got legit 50, 60 grade power in that bat, but right now the hit tool is graded out at like a 40, and that's not what the Twins would like out of their first overall draft pick. So
no. And we've seen that, and it hasn't necessarily manifested in strikeout rates that are like egregious, 22% at both high A and double A that 2019 season, but a 11 to 12% swinging strike rate, that's going to cause problems at the big leagues, and probably even in AAA he'll start to be exposed a bit more. And we've seen the low batting averages too with Royce Lewis, so definitely someone to watch. Draft and hold is the only consideration I'd give him right now. Maybe AL only reserves, but otherwise, just wait and see.
Yeah, I think he's a guy that I would try and buy low on in Dynasty right now.
Yes, I think that's certainly possible.
I think, people are going to see him outside the top 50 in ranks. They're going to see this coming off the ACL, and you might be able to get him for. You're not going to get him for free, but
no,
there's
cheaper than you would have in 19.
Yeah, and there's definitely prospect fatigue. So he's a guy just because the tools are so immense that the upside is huge. Like I would take a gamble.
Yep. All right. And CJ Abrams, any chance he gets up this year?
I don't think so. Not coming off the massive leg injury that he had last year, and I think that the fact that the Padres are just stacked. I mean, if he's amazing, then maybe the Padres figure out a spot for him. Maybe Cronenworth moves to the outfield.
That's why I put him on, just because in today's game, like once you hit double A, you're actually on the cusp pretty much no matter what. So even though there was an injury, with the fractured fibula or a tibia, excuse me, I just wanted to make sure that Abrams was at least mentioned so that people weren't like, what about CJ Abrams? It's a long shot though. Very long shot.
Yeah. I think he'd really have to be crushing it. And the Padres would have to have some sort of natural opening they could move Cronenworth to bring him up to play second base.
Yeah, I think so too. But Abrams is one to watch, and next year, don't be surprised when the hype machine is going crazy for CJ Abrams. All right, the boring draftables, a couple of whom we talked about with Fletcher and Wade on the Angels. Isaiah Kiner for left out with the Rangers, Ha-Seong Kim with the Padres, excuse me. Joey Wendell moved to the Marlins, Edmundo Sosa for the Cards. T.D. Gregorius still hanging out there in Philly saying, what are you bringing Story and Correa out here for? I'm right here. And it's like, well, that's why we're bringing those guys out, buddy. I love Didi, like great dude, but the game his game has come down. And then Ramon Aureus out in Baltimore. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa certainly gets more attention now that Josh Young's season is
absolutely
over.
Yeah, I don't know that he belongs in this tier anymore.
Probably has to move up to the last tier that we did last episode together.
Yeah, I think so. He's going to play every day. Unless they bring in like a Jonathan VR or somebody who...
I don't think they will. I think they like IKF.
I think they do too. So I think he's probably going to play every day. I think he's going to be a cheap source of stolen bases. I think he's going to get third base eligibility. Which is, valuable. So, if you had been taking shots on him in Draft Champions, you're going to probably get rewarded. It's not a huge upside or anything like that.
Sure.
And you wish he'd get catcher eligibility back, but
yeah, that was the only value he had last year. He had catcher eligibility over at Yahoo, and it became a whole big meme with me and the ITL folks because I was like, he's the worst. And then 20 steals at catcher,
top 5 catcher.
Yeah, it's insane. But I stand by that he's just not a good hitter.
He's not, but he is going to accumulate, and accumulators have value,
especially when they have speed.
Yeah, and if you're in Draft Champions, like when you're getting past pick 300, you're looking for guys who can just get you plate appearances. So Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is one of those guys.
Yeah, and I agree with you. He could have been in that MI category, which was that last one that we did. That had like Paul DeYoung in it, and I don't know why he's the only guy I can remember, but he is. So
he'd probably be the bottom of that tier, but still,
yeah, absolutely. But you're right, should be higher. So then Ha-Seong Kim, we're both still bought in. We know that there's no obvious role right now, but I'm just not giving up. He came over with so much hype last year because of the performance that he put up in Korea. It didn't click, but there were flashes of it. and he's 26. That's one thing I really liked about him so much is how young he came over. And I think we even pointed out that like he has time to kind of develop. Not that I thought he was going to put up a 70. I'm not couching my prediction. I liked him. I said draft him and get him, and it was a bust. But I'm not quitting him. There's still enough juice here for me to go back to the well with Ha-Seong Kim in deeper formats. He's multi-eligible at short, third, and second. So he has the triple eligibility, a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, super util on a good team. What's not to like with Kim in the right format?
I like him a lot. I think he's affordable. I think he's one of those guys you put at the back end of your roster as a guy who can cover all three of those infield positions that you mentioned. And if he isn't performing, if he isn't playing, you cut him real quick. You cut him, and then you move on. So
yeah.
I don't see really much downside to a guy like Kim who showed power and speed in Korea, has started to show a little bit more comfortability, especially hitting high velocity and breaking stuff. So I think he's going to get better. He just, maybe this is a little bit of a gap here last year trying to figure out the transition between, the KBO and Major League Baseball. But I have some faith that he's going to figure something out. I don't know that he's going to be a star, but I think he could definitely be a usable player in fantasy and in Major League Baseball.
Totally agreed. Joey Wendell should also be in that MIs category. He should not be down here. He's better than this. So I apologize for that one. So IKF and him should be moved up there. And my rankings will reflect that. I was just grouping them and they got caught up here in this more of like part-timer territory when they're full-timers. He's going over to Miami, and I think he's going to play every day with Miami. He had a quality season last year, 11 homers, 8 steals. Now he was 8 for 14. He's had 8 steals each of the last 3 seasons, including the shortened season. He dropped 8 out of 10 in 50 games in 2020, 8 out of 11 in 75 games in 2019, but then 8 out of 14 last year in 136 games. So steals are just so freaking unpredictable, especially with these lower end steals guys. But, usually pretty decent average, touch of power, touch of speed. You're just putting him in, you're plugging him in. He's got third and short eligibility. Joey Wendell, somebody who interests you at all?
In my ranks piece that's on Fangraphs that dropped yesterday, I said that he is kind of boring, but he's gonna play every day. Like, I don't think he's anything special, but he's multi-positional eligible. He's gonna play pretty close to every day. He might sit some if they find a good platoon partner with him. But ultimately, I think they traded for him for a reason. They don't want to spend money. He's cheap. And he's kind of an old, reliable vet that can kind of, help some of the younger guys along. So I think he's perfect for a league where you just want an accumulator. And I think if you're playing a deeper format, that's great.
Yep. I echo that completely with Joey Wendell now in Miami. Edmundo Sosa is penciled in right now for St. Louis's starter. Your boy, or at least one of your former Flames, Paul DeJong, is still lingering, and I don't think that he's totally out of the picture here. In fact, he's slotted into the DH role. And they have guys, that can move around. Like Tommy Edman could move back over to short if like Nolan Gorman had to come up. So I don't think Edmundo Sosa is guaranteed, but I do think that he made enough noise last year in his sample of 326 plate appearances where he hit 271, 346, 389 with a solid glove that they feel like, hey, we might have something here. And we're prioritizing defense. Again, not that Paul DeJong hasn't improved his defense, but Sosa is more of like a defense first guy. 6 homers, 4 steals in that time too, but he was 4 for 8 on the bases. Boring as heck, but I think he just kind of fits what you were saying about if you want some playing time, that's just kind of bland. But I don't think his is as guaranteed as Wendell's and IKF's. That's why they need to be higher than Sosa, because I think Sosa could lose his job.
Yeah, I think Sosa needs to hit or at least play well enough because Gorman's coming up at some point. And so I think both Sosa and Paul DeJong are kind of on notice. Like, hey, you've got 3 weeks or whatever it's going to be, and then Gorman's going to be up. The only caveat to that is, and I think I mentioned this recently with you on an episode, is, in 2020, they gave guys a full year's credit worth of service time, like automatically if they played in the majors. If we end up getting delayed enough, like a month or two into the season, that could be the agreement again. And then Gorman would be up potentially day one, because I think he's ready. I think, the only way he gets held down is if they're playing games. So
Yeah.
That could put Sosa in some trouble. I drafted Sosa in the last round of TGFBI because he was second and shortstop eligible. I needed someone who was second base eligible. And I figured if he's not, part of the opening day, starting lineup, I can just say, move on.
See ya.
And go to the next guy. So I think he's somewhat interesting. But I also think he is in very much risk of losing his job. I would not draft him in Draft Champions or a league where you can't easily just drop someone.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's on Edmundo Sosa, just because he really has to perform, because they got guys knocking on the door, including Paul DeYoung, but also Nolan Gorman ready to storm the league and be badass. And then Didi, I mentioned that, we're trying to replace him out here. And this is one of my bigger disconnects between how much I love a player and how little I care about their fantasy value, because Didi is such a cool dude, man. I just really, really like him. But we're talking about 2 of the last 3 seasons have been really rough, and the only one that was good was the 60 gamer. So it was like a 2-month run. He had a 116 OPS plus, or WRC plus that year, 84 and 19, 82 games worth, and then 68 last year in 103 games. Now, I believe 2019 was when he was coming back from the TJ. So I'm willing to give him some leeway there. And then he bounced back in 20, at least for the 2 months. So I was like, okay, he's fine. But then last year was really tough. 217 BABIP, which normally you'd say, okay, let's give him some leeway. But he's a 273 for his career. There's still a gap, but he's never really been a great BABIP guy. Again, we've already tried to replace him with Story and Correa. Where are you on Gregorius? Is there any hope for a rebound here? Are you drafting him anywhere? Are you so dead set that they're going to replace him that you're just bypassing Didi?
Yeah, I think I'm bypassing. I think they're going to replace him. I think he becomes a utility guy. He could even get DFA'd or something like that. His defense was the calling card, and it's no longer, at least last year, it wasn't good. And so, he's struggling offensively. He's not as good as he was defensively anymore. Philadelphia looks like they want to be a team that's going to compete. They've been a team rumored to be in on Story specifically. So, I think especially if they bring someone in, I think Didi's done. But even if they don't, they have guys like Stott who could come up and be a usable piece at shortstop. So
yeah.
I
think guys like Johan Camargo and Nick Maitan could cost Didi some time in the interim as well.
Yep. So
just slotting in.
Yeah, I think unfortunately his time's over.
I'm rooting for him, but the outlook is not wonderful. Ramon Aureus, I believe we talked about him. I forget what I think it was gold digging. When we were gold digging, we talked about Ramon Aureus, and he is Luis's brother out there in Boston. Showed a little pop last year. Nothing crazy. I mean, we're talking about a 134 ISO. I don't want to overstate it. It's not like his brother's pop, but he had more in the minors, had a 225 ISO. And I wonder if there's a little bit more to tap into at the major league level to where he could pop double-digit homers if he's playing damn near every day. Do you like Ramon Aureus to be Baltimore's everyday shortstop?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to be signing anybody. So, I mean, maybe they signed like an Andrew and Simmons, but even if they were to sign someone like that, I mean, it's not like he couldn't take Ruggiero Dor's job at second base.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry, Jason.
Yeah. So
I Kelvin Gutierrez is at third. Ramon Aureus can play any of the 3 infield positions.
Yeah, I had to rank Kelvin Gutierrez. I was like, why? Well, I guess he's going to be an everyday player apparently. So that's an atrocious.
We need our boy Jorge Mateo to get going.
Let's go, baby.
He's got a chance.
I think in Draft Champions he's interesting because I think he can accumulate. But I mean, outside of that, AL only, I don't really want him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going crazy for Ramon Aureus, but you mentioned him in that gold digging pick 400 or later. Draft Champions is exactly where I want him. And then this last group here, because we're up against the clock, we're only going to pick a couple. The Chaff, Kyle Farmer. I did that to slam him, but if he is the starter, he should probably be at least in the last group that we just discussed. Nick Ahmed, Elvis Andrus, Alcides Escobar, Jose Iglesias, who's unsigned, Cole Tucker, Kevin Newman, Tyro Estrada, Andrelton Simmons. The issue here is that even if some of these guys play, which they are, they're not bringing much to the table. But who jumps out for you as somebody that you would have considered in your Draft Champions or did consider when you were doing them? And does anybody have value beyond that?
Cole Tucker is tied for fourth as my most rostered player this year.
And he's this year's said, right?
He could be. Who knows? I mean, like,
you're supposed to know.
I don't think there is a this year Cedric Mullins. But if there was, I think Cole Tucker could be one of those guys going extremely late. We know he has pop, and speed in the profile. He's a former top prospect. And there's a path. There are paths to playing time, whether it's at shortstop or in the outfield, in Pittsburgh. So I just like the opportunity cost of now. Am I going to take him in like something like a main event? Maybe is my last pick if it looks like he is going to be the opening day starter, but not really. He's not. It's not likely in most leagues. This is like super deep leagues, watch list kind of guy. Beautiful hair, which is always a plus.
Always.
But I mean, if and people have heard me talk about Tucker quite a bit. I'm not backing off of my love for him. But if we're talking about other guys in this area, I think Nick Ahmed and Elvis Andrus are probably the most interesting, just because I think they can accumulate. They're playing on bad teams.
What about Alcides? And what I hate that I'm even bringing this up, but they're going to go with him, aren't they?
I feel like they are, which I don't really understand.
Nobody does.
They've got Luis Garcia on that team. And so I think there's a chance that Alcides Escobar loses that job, and maybe fairly early, because, I mean, Garcia is, I think, going to make that team and be kind of a reserve infielder, but they really should be looking and seeing what he has to offer as a potential full-time player moving forward.
Exactly.
And he's only like 22 or 23 years old. So I think Escobar is a decent play in a DC late, but ultimately I don't know that he's going to hold on to that role. Whereas Elvis Andrus is going to play every day for Oakland, bat high up in the lineup, and we know that he has 15, 20 stolen base potential, and maybe on a team that does not care, they'll just let him run like they let Marte run at the end of the season last year. And so I think Elvis Andrus is my favorite out of this tier, with Ahmed being my second favorite, because that defense, even if they move him off of short to give Perdomo the opportunity, he's going to play every day somewhere, whether it's third base or second base. So.
Yeah, I totally agree. Sorry, I'm just making sure that the producers don't call me too early there. If you see me on my phone, I'm not trying to disregard you, but I agree with you on Elvis. He is somebody, he's kind of in that IKF role, right? He's going to play. He's going to get you some speed. So it's boring. You hold your nose when you do it, but sometimes you just need those boring guys to go in. Not every pick has to be a flashy upside pick. It doesn't have to be Bryson Stott. Sometimes the best picks are the Andruses and the IKFs who deliver guaranteed production. So I think you make a great call there. Tyro Estrada, you said he's blocked when on your rankings, and Mauricio Dubon as well, who's not on this list. But like, that's the tough part about San Francisco right now is, yes, they do a lot of platooning, but it's been crowded. It's crowded over there. So it's tough to even find.
I don't know that there's very many offensive players on San Francisco I want this year.
It's hard. It's hard to really be interested in them.
I mean, I feel like Brandon Crawford's probably going to take a step back. I feel like Brandon Belt is at risk for injuries and platoons. I think Evan Longoria is a really good bargain. Joey Bart, I think, is probably adequately priced. But outside of that, like, I really can't think of many that I would want, because they're just going to platoon so many guys.
Yep. And it works. I mean, it works for them. I will say Lamont Wade at his price with the DH added, he'll be on the strong side of the platoon. I'm still pretty keen on him after what he did last year. Maybe it's just biased because he helped me last year on the main event winner. But I do think he'll play enough to be double-digit homer and high single-digit steals. But that's for a different position. All right, that's going to cover it. That's the shortstop position. It's remarkably deep. I mean, we're talking about draftable guys like Wendell and IKF, and I think Tyler Wade with his speed, Ha-Seong Kim, Elvis Andrus. These guys are going so cheap. There could be like your third, fourth shortstop on your team. You can put so many shortstops. It's so deep. I will say the depth for me, though, doesn't mean I wait. It means more that I attack the position and get a lot of value out of it. You can wait, but I think if you wait too long and just say, well, hey, this is my starter, he's not too bad, you can be behind. Because people are getting two guys and you're making Correa your lone shortstop or whatever. And it's like, that's fine. But when I see a super deep position, sometimes I like to just utilize that depth as opposed to wait.
Yeah,
how do you feel about shortstop there?
It is
regards
deep.
To that strategy.
It is deep, but there are a lot of big drop-offs. And so
Yes.
I definitely want to attack before I get those big drop-offs. I would really love to get one of the top 3 or 4 shortstops. I think it's, it's important for your team. That being said, if you miss out, you don't have to freak out in the way you might freak out over third base or second base.
Yes. Okay. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. So don't panic, because then worst case, if you do end up with Royce Lewis as your starting shortstop or Gleyber or Correa, it's not ideal. You'd rather be up in the upper tiers, but you can survive that. So that's a good call. You don't need to panic in draft. And that is going to be it for us for this episode. Justin, great speaking with you. We'll do third base. Speaking of that position, we'll do that on Friday.